Living the life that you have so far and everything that you've achieved and enjoyed and experienced, what would you tell someone who was, say, 16 or 18?
I have noticed, and it's like a bit over 10 years since I did my trip, is that things are always changing. Times, technology, the way things are done. And you can fall in love with the romance of times gone by, and that can be an inspiration to want to do things a certain way. But if I was to try and sail around the world on my own now, it'd be very different to when I did it then, because, it's a different time. So it's always going to be a challenge for young people to, attempt and live and achieve their dreams. And it's going to be nothing like what the people in the past have done it. It's going to be unique and special to the time that they're doing it. In that sense, I'm thinking there's not a lot of advice I can give other than, you've got to go out there into the unknown, not knowing how it's going to happen, and work out a way.
Have a bit of faith to believe that, you're capable of it.
Yeah, yep. Well, if you go really base level, like you were saying before, everyone's a human, everyone's a person, and there's a sense of, people building up, giving other people superhuman powers, but that's not true. So when you know that people are just people, then you go, well, someone can do that, so can I.
Look, you don't need to do big picture stuff. It can be community backyard achievements and goals. It might be as simple as looking after a senior Australian who's a neighbour who might be widowed and just needs someone to pop in and talk to them. One of the proudest things as a dad that ever happened to me was when I found out my eldest daughter, when she was in her early 20s, was spending a day a week with a lady who was blind, doing all her correspondence and paying her bills. And I had no idea until 6 months after she started. And I said, why didn't you tell me? She said, well, there's no need to. It's something I just wanted to do. You don't need to tell anybody, but it's those things that define, I think, a person's life, and that's what we've got to be really conscious of.
Robin Sharma, have you read Robin Sharma's book at all, The Leader Who Had No Time?
No.
It's fantastic, David. It's much the same as what you mentioned. It's just about everyone can lead without title, and it's what you do when no one's watching.
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
Someone else's life.
Exactly, and that's why, this week we did an interview with Dick Smith, who was challenging the big bank bosses to help a young disabled boy in need, and basically embarrassing the big bank bosses to contribute and to come clean on what they do for charity. And as I said to Dick, why should they do that? It's a private thing. It's what you do yourself. It's not something to big note about. You do it because you're that sort of person.
When you climb a mountain like Everest, there probably isn't, well, for me, I couldn't imagine a greater challenge just by what you get to see and deal with and overcome on that 3-month journey. So, no, I think you put a lot of things into perspective. You realise a lot of things that you thought might have been fairly tough aren't that tough.
Yeah.
You realise that, I've always done fairly okay with real estate. It's been a fairly kind business to me, but I've realised I've probably done it at half pace. There was a different level, there was a different benchmark that I could have achieved.
Doing this challenge now, what would be your take on getting young people to do things early in life or taking risks and believing in themselves to be able to run with an idea?
Yeah, look, I think there's a few elements to that. I mean, Everest for me was a real turning point in my life, and that was a 25-year dream to get to that point, and to be fortunate enough to succeed. You know, not only get there and overcome what I need to from a training perspective, but to get onto the hill and make it up to the top. And what it taught me is I probably should have gone a lot harder and believed in myself a lot more throughout my life. You know, I think what happens is we have this stuff, this negativity and these limiting beliefs that's sort of attached to us right through our childhood and move through our teenage years with us, and we sort of go out into the real world. And I think from a business perspective, what I've learned is, you know, I've done, as I said to you earlier, I've done okay in a real estate sense, but I could have done a lot better. And I've really learnt that 80% of it is about mental attitude. It's about belief in yourself. Again, I'll relate the Everest journey because that's, to me, what's quite relevant in my world going forward. And it's not about the summit. It's got nothing to do with Everest itself. It was about that particular journey. And the thing with Everest is that these things that we learn about in life, we read about how to be successful, how to achieve certain things, those fundamentals don't change. On Everest, they become exponential. On Everest, the flip side of that coin might be death. And so it's a very focused and committed line that you need to take. Some of those key things for me, when we talk about belief in self, ownership of the outcome without proof, as I call it, ownership of the outcome without facts. Now, very hard to achieve. We go out and we say, I'd like to do X, I'd like to do whatever it may be, but we have that negative, we have those demons in our head, we have that negative self-talk, and we may not talk about that to anyone, we may not project that out there, but we've got it in our gut, it's there. When we go to sleep at night, it's the voices talking to ourselves, and so control over that is important. So on Everest, you had to stamp it out immediately. You just knew, that washout rate is horrendous of people that go, and the few that lasted long enough to make a summit bid, and indeed summit, we're all at a reasonable skill level, but ultimately it wasn't about some exceptional athlete, or it was 80% belief in yourself. It was about failure wasn't an option. And so the point I'm making, I guess, for if I had my time again, my advice to a young person is just go for it.
On risk management, obviously you want to know a bit about. My plan is very simple: get comfortable with your worst possible scenario. What I did, I had a house paid off at 24, 25. When I started Debella, I wasn't prepared to lose the house. So how I actually started is I had $5,000 saved up. So I wasn't going to lose my house. So I started with $5,000. And it was one of the most important lessons I still use today. I was going to get comfortable with my worst possible scenario. I wasn't going to be comfortable losing my house, but I was going to be very comfortable losing $5,000. And of course, as things started to go well, the first 12 months were difficult. The second 12 months, I started to see some traction. I sold my house and took a risk and bought my first property, which we're actually sitting in today. This is three properties now. Bought the first property that we see today.
Getting into that business, so you saw an opportunity, and I think I remember reading about you treat it as a people business, not as a product.
Correct. We're not in the coffee business. The next time a cup of coffee walks in the door to buy a cup of coffee, I'm in the coffee business. When it's people that walk in the door seeking what we do as a company, we're in the people business. So to me, whether it's coffee, bottled water, whatever it is, charities, the principles are the same. It's finding and identifying what the consumer wants and being able to deliver that. That's where I talk heavily about marketing. Every organisation involves marketing. And to me, marketing is about telling a story so compelling that people want to choose you. And how are they going to choose you if it's not about them? So we're a consumer marketing based organisation, really.
Yes, yeah. I can obviously see how successful you are in your business, but is there one particular memory that stands out where you thought in your mind, you know, I've really made it, I've really hit the mark that I wanted to, you know, the lifestyle that I wanted?
Oh, I'm nowhere near the lifestyle that I have in my mind. Yeah. Look, just understand this. Inside me is a desire for a certain lifestyle. I don't share it with many people. It's quite grandeur, the lifestyle, and that's where I'm going, and that's what I'm doing. I mentor a lot of people in business, and every single one of them, without doubt, in my opinion, aims way too low. I gave my big BHAG for Mini Movers. One day Mini Movers will be a bigger brand name worldwide than McDonald's. That's what I'm thinking about Mini Movers. Everybody's going, oh wow, you're amazing. You've built this big business up in Australia. You've got 500 people working for you, you know. You own 130 or 40 vehicles or trucks all around the place, you know. That's fantastic. Well, to me, it's a tiny little business because I'm thinking way bigger than that. So it's much easier to handle by Mini Movers today thinking it's a small business and building and planning out to where I'm going. So think big, don't think small.